Hey everybody, so in this video I'm going to do a short-term technical analysis video on SPY. Now there's a lot of lines that we could draw here, but I'm going to start by going on the 1 year time frame. And the first immediate line that I can draw is this trend line that's going to catch this most recent support right here. So as you guys can see, we're catching this bottom, that bottom, that bottom, and we're about to catch this next move right here. So I can actually have this trend line probably hugging it a little bit more. So you guys can see we're pretty much right on there. So probably within a day or two, we'll see some sort of reaction where it either goes sideways through this trend line, it either rallies off the trend line, or we have a sharp fall below it. So the next thing that I can see right off the bat is going to be this trend line right here. So as you guys can see, when I connect these, we have something of a rising wedge. So this rising wedge is pretty darn sharp. So, if we do have a rally and we reject off the top of this trend line, it's predicting a pretty sharp rally. So we could also build out multiple of these resistance trend lines. So we could build out another projection and we could actually go all the way out here and then connect it from this top. So if you guys are looking at this resistance trend line, then let's go ahead and let's just delete this one. So if we delete the shorter term one, well then this one's not as sharp. So it's expecting a rejection that's a lot closer than the prior trend line. Now we can also do this. We can go ahead, we can draw this trend line that goes through this gap and then connects this top. So you guys can see, we have support right there. We have support right here. We have this massive move. When we break underneath it, we have this huge gap down, and then we're connecting this top right here. So what does this mean? Well, if I delete this line, you guys can see that the resistance is much, much closer. So as I'm further building out these projections, our slope is getting lower. So if I was to build out my resistance right here, my slope is much higher. So it's actually a much sharper rising wedge. But if I'm building out resistance right here, then my slope isn't as steep. So what that means is that rejection is going to come much closer. So, what I like to do is I like to just draw every single one of those projections on my charts to see which one is actually the one that is most accurate, or which one that market price action is actually reacting to. So I could go ahead, delete all of that. But the one thing that I'm pretty sure of is that this support line is support because there's nothing below it that can actually give us an indication. Now, if there is something below it, then we're going to have to go way back, maybe 5 years. Now, I don't see any kind of support that covers this price action right here, other than this trend line right here. So that's it on the shorter term. Now, some other trend lines we can build out. Could build out horizontal trend lines of this prior top right there. So you guys can see that we do have this gap price action right there. And maybe this resistance right here, which we did get above, we're kind of right back in line with it again. So if we do start breaking down under these levels, our new trading zone could actually be right around here from like 427-ish to 415.85, and we could get back within this zone if we do break underneath this trend line. Now, let's say we actually have another rally. Well, then what could actually happen? Well, then if we're just zooming out a little bit, our next trading ranges could look something like this. So we could literally be trading between this 427 to 437. If we make it above this 437, we could go from 437 to 448. And then we can zoom out to see how much price action that's actually catching. So as you can see, this is pretty accurate. It's catching this resistance right there, that resistance, and that resistance way back there, support right there. So now we could go on a much shorter time frame. We could go on the 5-day time frame. And then we could zoom out just a little bit. Now, as you guys can see here, we have that massive gap right there. So what we can do is we can actually draw a trend line that's catching all of these supports right here. And this is our most recent price action. Now we're talking like, this is going back from August 10th. So this is like 8 days. You could also draw resistance. And then we could draw a second line of resistance. So here we're doing the same thing. We're making multiple projections. So right now, this is our most recent support trend line. You can see we bounced off of it right there, right there, right there, and right there. Now this was resistance right here, and then we gapped above it. And then you can see that we hit that resistance again. We gapped above it again, and then it was acting as support for a while. So support right there, support, support. And then when we broke underneath it, we had this massive gap down. And then we went back and hit this support. And then we actually rallied back up to hit this resistance. So these trend lines, they really do mean something, you guys. So let's say we break back above this resistance. Well, then what I think could come in play is this next line of resistance. So this is our next projection if we do rally. So this is kind of how I look at these charts on these shorter term time frames. So now let's say we break underneath this trend line and we actually have a close underneath. Well, then that's when I think things could get hairy, and that's when we start entering this wide trading zone, which is between 427 and right around like 416-ish. So that's just SPY on these shorter term trends, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.